Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to our channel, Wellness is Beautiful, where we discuss, demonstrate, and discover various ways to be well. This particular video, I'm preparing a wonderful soup with fresh nutritional vegetables and herbs. These ingredients are intentionally chosen for their health benefits for the body, which is the way I like to cook all my meals. With this particular soup, most of your time is going to be spent with chopping up the vegetables. You can, however, use a food processor to chop up your vegetables. My preference is to chop by hand. Gives me, I, I'm thinking while I'm cooking, so taking the time to chop my vegetables by hand gives me a lot of time to think. I'm thinking about what's in my soup. I'm thinking about who's gonna eat it. I'm thinking about how I can take these ingredients and make something else. So I'm just always processing while I cook. That's one of the reasons I like being in the kitchen. I like to think. I can get thoughts out. I can, something that I'm trying to work out. That's what I'm doing while I'm cooking, which is probably why sometimes, most of the time, I'll be using voiceover, because when I'm cooking, I don't want to think about what I'm saying to the camera or what I'm trying to deliver to you. I want to think about what's happening in the moment while I'm touching the vegetables and dealing with the food. So there will be times, however, that I will not use voiceover, and that's probably going to be a time when I'm quickly preparing something and doesn't take much thought and don't have time to go into deep thought. So I'll just go ahead and speak as I'm doing the taping. This soup today is a healthy chicken vegetable soup. The large pot, as you see, that's holding my 2 large fryers, which I'm allowing to cook slowly until it starts to fall off the bone. The smaller pot is where I'm keeping my vegetables that I'm chopping up, and also my herbs and other seasonings. I will, however, as you may have seen, place some of the vegetables like my celery, my carrots and squash, butternut squash, in with the chicken. And that's just to get them a head start on taking in and being infused by the flavor from the chicken. In the end, it's all going to go in one pot, so it really doesn't matter. So before I even put my vegetables in the seasoning pot, I actually use about 3 or 4 tablespoons of olive oil. You can use coconut oil, whatever your preference is, and put that in there, and then allow my vegetables to actually simmer in that. Depending on how much soup I'm making, how many vegetables, if that starts to get dry, I don't add more oil. I'll just slowly add in water and allow them to have more time to simmer and cook together. So while those vegetables are cooking together, giving them time to cook, to come together and be one, then I start to add my other dry seasonings. Again, that's going to be your choice, your preference, but you definitely want to add salt. And my salt is always going to be the whole salt, Celtic salt. And after that, I decide what flavor I want to add to the chicken flavor. So it's mostly going to be maybe celery salt, Italian seasoning, sage possibly, whatever your choice is. You know what you like. Rosemary, even though in my seasoning pot I do have rosemary already in there, rosemary and sage. And those I like to get, if that's in my garden. Rosemary usually is. I pluck that from my garden. Basil is usually in my garden, so I'll take that. And sometimes I will even make a bouquet. I don't know if you know what I mean by that. I will take all my live herbs like my sage, rosemary, there's a couple others, that cilantro, parsley. I'll take those and then put them in using food twine, and then wrapped up in what it looks like a little vegetable bouquet or herb bouquet. And I'll make about 3 of those. and I'll just place those in the pot, let them cook together, and I just love the flavor, even the aroma that comes from putting those herbs together. And when I even freeze after what's left from what we're not going to eat that week, I will make sure that I try and get them in the different containers, because while they're even freezing, that flavor is still blending itself to the rest of the soup. So I love doing that. So as I've added my dried seasonings to my pot with the herbs in it, what I'm getting ready to do now is actually make the thickening for my soup, because with chicken soup I want it to be more thick rather than watery broth. So I'm going to use my blender and take some of the water or broth from the chicken pot, and also some of the vegetables. The carrots and the butternut squash is going to help to give me that thickness that I want, because it has that starchy element to it. So I'm going to add that to my blender from both pots. Also add some of my seasonings, because I want my seasonings to just continue to be through every component. The chicken pot, the herbal pot, and also my blender. So I add different dry seasonings at different times. So I'm now taking at least 1 or 2 scoops from each pot, putting it in the blender, making sure that I'm including some of the chicken from the chicken pot. And I'm going to blend that together, and in the end, I will actually pour that into either the chicken pot, it won't matter because they're all going to come together in the end, chicken pot or the vegetable pot, and let them cook together, probably depending on what vegetables you're using and how well you cut them up, or how small you cut them up. You want them to cook long enough to where everything is tender. The chicken is falling off the bones. The vegetables are tender, where you can just put a fork through and it just presses through. So you put all that together, and then you let them, like I say, cook together on low heat for about, I'm going to say, another 30 minutes, and then let all those flavors just lend themselves to one another. And then you have your soup. So I will suggest that you take something like this, keep it in your freezer. Like I said, there are times when you're feeling a little icky, a little achy, in the fall and winter. And actually lately it's not just fall and winter, it's basically year round, where we're bombarded with all types of viruses and things like that. So having something like this will definitely help you. A couple things that I didn't mention that I always add to my soups, and I don't know if this was shown in this video. I use turmeric. Turmeric is quite potent in cooking. It has a lot of healing properties in it. I use wakame. Wakame is a natural seaweed. I'll use a few pinches of that. Later on in one of my other videos, when I'm talking about just ingredients, I want to show you how that seaweed works. You can take just a small amount, and once it's added to liquid, it actually expands into a large leaf. It's kind of amazing, and something to really see. Kind of amazing. So I take my time to pick what vegetables are going to lend to the body as far as being well. Celery, is good for the kidney. I try to always add dandelion. I don't think I did in this soup. Probably just didn't have any in the refrigerator. Dandelion, of course, is good for the liver. So I intentionally try and find vegetables that are going to do a particular healing for the body. And it's good to cook that way. It's good to shop that way. When you're shopping in the grocery stores, you're looking for something. If you know you have an issue, a deficit, a different challenge with the body, whether it be your kidneys, your liver, your heart, then shop that way, cook that way, and you'll be surprised how well those fresh vegetables will come together, especially if you're consistently doing that, if you're consistently eating that over and over, rather than using ingredients that lend no healthy elements to the body. Start choosing things that are intentionally helping you to heal if you are having issues, and then if you're not, just to maintain your health. That it's a fight today. It's a fight today to maintain your health, because we're constantly, without our intent, being bombarded with environmental poisonings. You're not going to prevent that. That's just where it is. And even in some of our foods, no matter what, they sometimes can be contaminated the way they're processed. So for me, I just go as far as I can to make sure that when I cook, when I shop, I'm intentionally shopping to be well for me and my family.